Hi, Terry from Southern California. I had an interesting but a little bit, I guess, shocking to myself awareness this morning, early morning, as I was sitting quietly. And that is that I really do have quite a bit of anxiety built up inside of me. As much as I try to not be engaged by things going around me, as much as I meditate and think through different things and rest into things, I was aware this morning that just feeling it in my chest, feeling it in some of my muscles, or just when I sat quietly going through my meditation beads this morning, I had to confess to myself, which was actually quite freeing overall, but I needed to confess to myself that anxiety has been, I guess in one respect, leaking through my defenses, or anxiety has not been flowing out of me through the disciplines that I use. That anxiety has built up in me. And I can understand where it comes from. It's with when I'm talking right now, the transition to the new presidential administration happens next week, and there are all these rumors of violence and a very aggressive protest going on. So I see that, and it kind of sits in me a little bit. Then the COVID vaccine, is available to those of us who are 65 and over, but kind of confusing here in Southern California. How do we register for it? How do we get an appointment? And seeing all these different things, and it kind of builds up anxiety, even though there's not a particular urgency to it for my wife and me, but still it builds up. And then in terms of my writing life, we're entering a new phase. I'm entering a new phase where a website is going up soon, and a manuscript for an ebook is out there but needs editing and turning into a PDF that we can post. So a bunch of things, transitions happening there. So I know where the anxiety comes from. I get that, but it's sitting there. So I've been wondering, just in this morning, what to do with that, what to do about it, if anything. First step I felt was confessing it and just saying, I'm anxious. Things have leaked in, they've been accumulating me. It's almost like a glacial kind of thing. It's not like a shock that builds over stress immediately. It's confessing it and saying, yeah, I know you. I've lived with this kind of anxiety many, many times before. So it's not something new, and it's just something that, I know you. And it's confessing it. And then if you look at the little cat behind me here that you'll see every week, it's doing some of that, just stretching, just physically, knowing that it accumulates in my body. So it might be taking, as we have lately, taking a little bit longer walks, because here in Southern California, the temperature has been great for it. It might be stretching through yoga or doing some exercises, but it's just stretching it physically, mentally, emotionally, however you or I stretch. It's maybe just relaxing more or doing things that I love to do. It's, for me, writing things in my journal, like I did this morning as I was confessing it. I wrote it down and looked at it and pondered it. And then a major factor is recognizing that this is the now. So it's confessing it, living into it, living with it right now. But then also recognizing that much is a transitional time. It's anxiety that builds up because it's kind of like almost a bell curve, that a bunch of things have been ramping up, and the inauguration happens next week. I expect the website to go up later this month, the ebook to be published in February. COVID vaccination, expect fully to have that taken care of, if not this month, then next month. So a lot of us just saying, hey, this is something to live with, something to breathe with, something to stretch with, until things settle down. And then hopefully the anxiety will lessen. Sometimes I use the analogy when I did counseling that we live sometimes like we are a pressure cooker. Remember the old pressure cooker? And I grew up with my mom having the older kind that sat on a burner and then had a little thing on top that rocked back and forth before the electronic one like we have today. And sometimes in life, it's like somebody's turned up the burner. Okay, with my writing life and with the COVID and vaccine and with the inauguration coming up and all the conspiracy things and threats of violence, that burner's pretty hot right now. I might say it's pretty close to medium hot. So knowing that that builds up pressure, and I'm doing things on top to, I remember my mom used to put a fork on there so it would it would leak more pressure off more quickly because it had built up too much. So I'm doing things, but knowing at the same time, sometimes the heat is so high that my mechanisms, my escape valves don't quite take care of it. So it's saying it's a pressure cooker time, but knowing too that the burner will go down. I can see where step by step the heat will go down and the pressure will release. So it's breathing into that as well and saying this is for the now. Confess it, stretch, do whatever I know to do to let that anxiety kind of work its way out. But knowing too, this might be a little bit higher pressure time for a week or weeks or a couple of months, and say, it's okay. I'll probably learn some things about myself and others, but it'll be okay. I'm okay now, and it will be less in the future. So I wonder if you're building up anxiety. If you have not confessed it, maybe just saying confess it and say, I am anxious. Things have built up in me just a bit. And then think about what things do I enjoy doing? What things relax me? What should I walk more or exercise a little bit more? Or with the COVID restrictions, it's a little harder to do some other things, but what can I do now? But recognizing too that this is a season. It's maybe just a season of corporate and individual anxiety. So this is anxious Terry sitting here, but thinking it through, working it through. Talk to you next time.